former chief financial officer for Donald Trump, was sentenced today to 5 months in jail for perjury. He admitted he had lied in court about helping the former president inflate his net worth to win favorable loans. Now, during his trial testimony, Allen Weisselberg had trouble explaining why Trump's less than 11,000 square foot apartment was listed on financial documents as being 30,000 square feet. His excuse? He said, quote, "It was almost de minimis relative to his net worth, so I didn't really focus on it." Now, Trump's defense lawyers and his adult sons have framed Weisselberg's guilty plea as an act of legal coercion rather than an admission of wrongdoing. Now, other people in the former president's orbit who are behind bars and in the news this week, Michael Avenatti.
Michael Avenatti, indeed, the former attorney to Stormy Daniels, is speaking out from prison, and he's defending Donald Trump. Quite a turn of events. Avenatti wrote on X, quote, "We can't be hypocrites when it comes to the First Amendment. It is outrageous that Cohen and Daniels can do countless TV interviews, post on social, and make money on bogus documentaries, all by talking shit about Trump. But he's gagged and threatened with jail if he responds." And actually, Avenatti was interviewed on MSNBC about these views. Let's listen.
I think this is the wrong case at the wrong time, Ari. I think that the case is in many ways stale at this juncture. You're talking about conduct that occurred some 8 years ago. I think the fact that it's occurring in state court in New York is a mistake.
He later added that Trump will be convicted in his January 6th prosecution. Let's listen.
I think the case has a lot of problems. Now, that does not, I don't mean to suggest that means that Trump will not be convicted, because I think he will be convicted because number one, he's a criminal defendant, and in our society, I don't believe that criminal defendants generally get a fair shake.
So this is quite an evolution for Michael Avenatti, who you said before we started doing this feels like a flashback to 2019. Indeed, this was a figure who, as Stormy Daniels' attorney, rose to virtually unparalleled prominence on anti-Trump mainstream progressive cable news, CNN, MSNBC, and the like. He was on constantly. He was on hundreds of times. He practically guest hosted The View once. The fawning over him was absurd. It was a worship of this man who was uniquely seen as the figure who was going to take down Donald Trump relating to this case. Then obviously he got into legal trouble of his own relating to Nike, I believe, was what actually got him finally behind bars. Now sounding a very different tune, saying that he doesn't think it's fair that Trump's lawyers, who he called Cohen a serial liar, get to say whatever they want, and it might be called to give evidence against Trump when they are totally discredited and can't be trusted. He thinks Trump being gagged in several occasions is not fair, and he thinks the Stormy Daniels case it rests on some not so solid foundations now. He says that he thinks a lot of the information she gave him was not accurate, and that that Trump couldn't get a fair trial in New York anyway, but that it's like, he says, not like a fine wine, this has not aged well. Incredible.
What do you make of the fact that his grievance, as we quoted it, seemed to largely be about the fact that Trump's lawyers get to make money on bogus documentaries, they get to do countless TV interviews? It does seem like he might have a bit of sour grapes calling from prison to make an argument that other people, Trump's lawyers, are getting to profit mightily off of having represented him. But Stormy Daniels' lawyer, seems to be in a very different circumstance.
Maybe he's learned that, this is reminding me a little bit of, who's the Illinois governor who got in, Rod Blagojevich, who is now a staunch Trump backer and supporter of criminal justice reform in some cases. He got a pardon from Trump. Could Avenatti one day get a pardon from Trump for having changed his rhetoric around
Yeah,
this
it's
issue?
Almost like nobody actually believes in anything and are willing to say whatever they need to say in their self-interest. I wonder why people are so disaffected from politics.
But that was always who he was, right? He was always willing to say did whatever to get himself on TV and was treated as a hero. I mean, again, I'm emphasizing this because the degree to which he was omnipresent in the media.
It was true. He was a sex symbol for liberal women.
Yeah, weird. But now, so to see they must be crestfallen to see their idol is behind bars, obviously. But
yeah, no one's getting to see him, as we saw. It's a phone interview because he is incarcerated. I wonder what you made of the story up top of Donald Trump's chief financial officer being sentenced to jail for perjury, admitting that he lied in court about helping the president to inflate his net worth. Now, as we mentioned, people in Trump's circle are framing this admission of guilt as less of an admission of guilt and more as evidence of the state's coercion and kind of the trumped-up charges against Donald Trump. But unlike many of the other claims that you can make that are perhaps more subjective about Donald Trump, the idea that you listed an apartment that was less than 11,000 square foot as 30,000 square feet, and to be a CFO and kind of brush that off as, oh, I just wasn't paying that much attention, it didn't really matter because he's worth so much more money than that. Do you think that holds? That comes off as persuasive?
It's just a reminder never to answer questions from federal investigators ever. Just say, I just decline, plead the fifth. What happened here is he spoke to investigators in the course of one of these proceedings and said he didn't know that the size of the property was wrong on the form or whatever, and then later they were able to present information that, well,
he signed off on the form
he was
that
screwed,
misstated the size of his apartment. Yeah,
it's again, they can always perjury. They can always get you on something because if you're interrogated long enough, you'll make a mistake in your comments. This guy has already gone to prison for a few months for tax evasion, fraud-related reasons stemming from Trump that he swore Trump had no knowledge of. So, this is not changing anyone in conservative.
No, I get that it's not going to change anybody's mind, but it does seem to be an indictment of conservative world that Donald Trump rose to fame largely on the idea that he was a savvy businessman. And now it seems that not only he, but all the people around him are implicated by these charges, that some of which have landed folks in jail. It's not pretty. It's an ugly circumstance for him to be embroiled in all of this controversy and to have been demonstrated to be, you can call it a de minimis cheat, but a cheat nonetheless. Talking about an 11,000 square foot apartment, many of us would only have dreams and fantasies of ever having that much living space and a very unaffordable housing market of that size. And to have this guy represent himself as kind of a populist leader with a CFO saying, 11,000, 30,000, who can tell the difference? This is all de minimis in the grand scheme of this guy's business practices or the grand scheme of this guy's wealth. It's an interesting picture. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, Buck Sexton, who's a conservative radio host and actually a host of Rising a long, long time ago, before Sagar, said on Twitter, imprisoning a senior citizen with no prior criminal record for perjury in a civil trial that was a sham to begin with. Never underestimate the ruthlessness of these Biden commies.
We should only imprison young black turnstilers in New York City and Rikers Island. Well, what does his age have to do with it?
Well, but as you just said, I don't. A lot of people get unfairly put in jail or get too much jail time. I believe that because the process is very much in favor of the police and the investigators, and people don't take legal advice to not answer questions from these people and all that sort of thing. So it's not just like, oh, we got him on something, that must mean it was all fair and above board. It's not ridiculous to say like, okay, good job.
Yeah, and I'll take that kind of a critique more critically or more seriously when I hear him talking about Khalif Browder or all the other people, the 30 people that have died in Rikers prison just this year, awaiting trial, having not been convicted.
Well, I don't support any of that. I think it is a big problem.
All right. Tomorrow on Rising, we'll be back with more, so do return. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. For those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
See you later.
Bye-bye.